Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to adjust and tune up an old door latch. So this door here, as you can see, try to push it closed, and the latch, rather than retracting, is just kind of banging into where the strike plate should be. You see here, the strike plate is a little bit further recessed than it ought to be. And the other issue that this door is having, not a big one, but just a little bit of a wiggly knob there. The door does work, but it's in a bathroom. It'd be nice if it worked a little bit better. So let's go ahead and take care of that. First things first, here are the tools that you're going to need for this job. I've got a utility knife, a flat-headed screwdriver with a nice sharp point, a regular carpenter's pencil with graphite, and a little tube of graphite for lubrication instead of oil. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and score along the lines of the latch right here. This one has already got the paint mostly broken, probably just from some of the ramming that I just did. It probably shook this whole latch mechanism and cracked the paint most of the way around, but we're basically just trying to make sure that none of the paint, when we pop this thing out, grabs the paint around it and rips any paint off the door unnecessarily. So if we do a good job scoring here, the whole latch will pop out. You know, we're chipping a little bit of paint off as we go, but sort of the price you pay for adjusting this latch. So that's pretty good enough job, I think, right there. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take our flat-headed screwdriver with the nice sharp point on it, and we're gonna go ahead and start to do some work on these flat-headed screws that are all filled in with paint. So you can see I just took the bit out there, make it a little easier to do this one-handed, but you kind of just figure out how to brace yourself, and if it's good and sharp, you can actually sort of use that to go back and forth and scrape the paint out. I'm going to go ahead and set the camera down, and I'm actually going to very carefully use my X-Acto knife to get in there and do a little bit of work scoring and chopping up the paint before scraping it out with the flathead. Be right back. I figured it was worth showing you a little bit of technique. I'm gonna try and pinch my phone. I have no idea if this shot's gonna come out. I should have brought my tripod, but basically a way that you can kind of try and gently do this and not cut yourself up is to take one hand against the door and brace it and do this. Oh, that's not going to work. Anyway, I'll go ahead and just do it, and I'll have to show you that technique another time. Okay, so I went ahead and did a pretty good job of clearing the paint out of the cracks of these slotted screws here, top and bottom. These ones already have a bit of scoring around the edge of the paint, so I'm not going to worry about it, but if this was really caked on with paint, it would be worthwhile to take your X-Acto knife and just do a little scoring around there too, so it doesn't peel a big old chunk of paint off the latch, if you're trying to preserve the paint and not have to do any new painting and you want to make this look a little tidier. I'm not too worried about this. This is a friend's house. I'm sort of taking care of this door while I'm house sitting, just for fun. It's a nice little surprise for him when he gets back, and I know he's not too particular about the paint. He needs to paint this house anyway, so I think he'll hopefully just be happy about the door between the bathroom and the guest room closing a little better. So, see, we lost a little bit of paint off the screw. That's not a big deal, but that's what I meant about it kind of flaking off there. So, just go ahead and knock that paint out of the way, and you should just come out by hand. So our next step is going to be to take the knob off the door. Now these can have a few different kinds of screws. These ones are obviously slotted, so I can just go ahead and get the smaller slotted out of my screwdriver going and just extract that right out of the knob. I had one of these. I did another door for him just a couple of minutes ago, and the bar that goes between the two knobs was really stuck. I don't know what to tell you about that. That one was just hard to get out, but we'll see if it does it on this one. Sometimes they just pull off. Sometimes you have to unscrew them from here. It's sort of a threaded piece of square stock that these are on. You see here how it's kind of a square bar, but it's got these ridges that this threads onto. So sometimes they'll just slide off if they're pretty well worn, but this one I actually had to unscrew to thread it off. And so then this should just pull right out, and I can actually use this. I'm gonna put that back into this hole, back into its little square arbor there, and I'm gonna push this towards the camera here to pop this latch out. Just like that. It's loose, it's free. Now here's part. I'm gonna organize a little bit. I've got my paper towel down here so I don't get graphite or old oil or dust all over the floor. So I'm gonna get that going. Pull this thing out. I'm gonna put it with the slotted screw side. You see how the other side didn't have one? This side has a slotted screw side up for you all to see. On this part you wanna be really careful not to not to disturb any of the mechanism in there. If you can avoid it, there's a spring and there's a few other parts that make this work. So I'm just being very gentle with this as I take it off to hopefully not disturb anything. And if the latch is more messed up, you know, maybe I'll make another video about how to put one of these back together. But this is what it should look like with all those parts inside there. This is how it should look when everything is lined up properly. It's a little dirty. I'm not going to worry about that too much, but what I am going to do, I'm going to take my little tube of graphite, which I'm now spilling all over, and I'm just going to dump a little bit of this graphite in some of the different parts where this mechanism is moving. So there's a bunch of places where the mechanism is moving. Let's be careful here. So this is that part right there. Just move. Okay, that's exactly what you don't want to do. All right, I'm gonna put the camera down and I'll tune back in a sec. All right, well, since it's already apart a little bit, this is what you can do with the pencil. Basically, I like to take this carpenter's pencil and scribble a bunch all over. I usually do this after I put it back together, but scribble all over the latch. And what that does is that just offers a little bit of dry lubrication, because the graphite is actually really slippery, but it's not like oil where it's really going to collect a bunch of dust. And that offers a bunch of dry lubrication for this part to slide more easily. You can see there's a little bit of rust buildup that I'm sort of just scribbling over. So I'm just adding a lubricant essentially to allow this part to slide in and out a little bit better. I'm gonna do some more of that, put it back together. You saw I just dropped a little bit of graphite powder in a bunch of different spots. And yeah, I'll check back in a sec. All right, so I finished lubricating. I sort of just sprayed a bunch of that little powder in there, moved it around a little bit, but I'm really gonna do more moving around once I get this thing back together. So I'm gonna set the plate on, make sure that this little circular piece is centered there, and that the screw hole is looking nice and well aligned. Then just drop my little flathead back, screw it back together here for you. I don't usually use my toes to support things, but you know, go in one-handed mode without the tripod. So we're gonna screw this back together. Make sure that we're all lined up correctly, get my hair out of the way. So I'm pretty sure this is the way that it came out, just like that. That looks pretty close, I think. So basically what I'm gonna do is get that thing in there, put my knob back in the one side, and exercise it a bunch of times to get that graphite to kind of move around inside the, and you can just let it being used do this for you, but it feels less sticky already. I can tell you that for sure. And sometimes I'll do this actually while it's outside. Can't do it two-handed. I need two hands to do it, but I'll do it in different orientations and hold it around when I first put the powder in, and that kind of helps the powder fall to the different parts. So I'll kind of be moving it around like this and have the knob push through that hole and be twisting it a bunch of times. to kind of just get the graphite powder to fall around to all the different parts and lubricate. So I'm gonna do that and then put it back in and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we got it all put back together. The knob is still a little wiggly. You actually don't wanna make this too tight because if you push these too tight together and screw that set screw back in, then this knob is actually gonna be hard to turn. You know, it needs a tiny bit of space right there for this to be able to turn freely. You can also, you know, do a little graphite work right there to help lubricate that area. I mean, it's kind of close to where your hands go, and obviously the graphite leaves some residue on your hands, so you don't really want to do that too much, but let's just see if this thing closes. This is my first attempt. Like a dream. I mean, the thing is just so easy now. And I just think that's kind of nice to be able to close the door without it rumbling. So anyway, if you want to tune up a door, that's the way to do it. And you just got to be careful not to let that spring bounce out and lose a bunch of parts and forget how it all goes together. But you can reference this video to see how they kind of go together. My recommendation is to also very carefully pull the thing apart. Maybe take a picture of it if you can, just in case while you're lubricating things bounce apart. That's the best idea. Take a photo, take a video. You'll have something to look back on to see how it went back together, because it's just a hassle to try and figure it out on the fly. You put it all back together and then it doesn't work right and you realize you got to take it back apart. So anyway, I hope this is helpful to somebody, and yeah, good luck out there.